One of the surest signs that someone cares about us is that they feed us. Think about all the meals parents provide for their families, all the care and labor that goes into providing those meals, the planning, the shopping, the cooking, the serving, the cleaning up, and that's just for ordinary everyday meals. What about those special meals for holidays, for birthdays, for anniversaries, for homecomings? A sure sign that someone thinks we are worth all of that effort. Our scriptures today are filled with images of banquets, meals, eating, food. Beginning with Isaiah's vision of the eschatological feast that the Lord of hosts will provide for all peoples. He calls it a feast of rich food and choice wines. And moving to the table that the caring shepherd will spread before the psalmist in the sight of his foes. And then hearing Paul tell the Philippians that he has learned the secret of being both well-fed and going hungry. And concluding with Jesus' parable about the wedding feast. It's all food, food, food. Over and over, we see that the one who ultimately cares for all of us and who is our source of life and strength is God. God who shows us how much he loves us by feeding us again and again and again. And Jesus shows us how much he loves us by continuing his presence among us with this Eucharistic table. Isn't that what Jesus did the last time he ate with his friends? He took simple bread and common wine and said, "When you do this, remember me, and I will be with you, and I will be in you." But Jesus does not just care for us, but for all people. That is what the sign of this banquet is. As Isaiah says, "I will provide for all peoples." But to do this, Jesus needs us to be the ones who extend the invitation to others, the ones who go out into the road like the servants in this parable and invite whomever we find. But this cannot just be an invitation to some extraterrestrial feast at the end of time. It must be a concrete invitation to feasting in this world. And this is where we can get into trouble. For we live in a world where there is enough food produced for all the 7.8 plus billion people on this planet. But hundreds of millions of our sisters and brothers are starving. In our own country, we see obesity on the one hand and starving children on the other. The average American discards almost 300 pounds of food a year. How can we correct this imbalance? African Archbishop Desmond Tutu offers a suggestion with the concept of Ubuntu. U-B-U-N-T-U, Ubuntu. This is a Zulu or Xhosa word, which is translated literally as "I am because we are." It's a term of humaneness for caring, sharing, and being in harmony. Tutu writes this: Africans have a thing called Ubuntu. It is about the essence of being human. It is part of the gift that Africa will give to the world. It embraces hospitality, caring about others, being willing to go the extra mile for the sake of another. We believe that a person is a person through other persons, that my humanity is caught up, bound up inextricably with yours. When I dehumanize you, I inexorably dehumanize myself. The solitary human being is a contradiction in terms. Therefore, you seek to work for the common good because your humanity comes into its own in community, in belonging. There is a favorite story of mine, which many of you have probably heard me tell more than once, but it bears repeating today. It was first told by the journalist and philosopher Leah Diskin, and it demonstrates Ubuntu in action. She says there was an anthropologist who had been studying the habits and customs of a particular tribe in Africa. Having finished his work, he was waiting for transportation that would take him to the airport for his flight home. He had always been surrounded by the children of the tribe, so to help pass the time before he left, he proposed a game for the children to play. He went into the city and bought lots of candy and sweets and put everything into a basket with a beautiful ribbon attached. He placed it under a solitary tree, and then he called the kids together. He drew a line on the ground and explained that they should wait behind the line for his signal, and that when he said, "Go," they should rush over to the basket, and the first one to arrive there would win all the candies. So they stood behind the lines, and when he said, "Go," they all unexpectedly held each other's hands and ran off towards the tree as a group. Once there, they simply shared the candy with each other, and all of them happily ate it. The anthropologist was stunned. He asked them why they had all gone together, especially if the first one to arrive at the tree could have won everything in the basket, all the sweets. A young girl simply replied, "How can one of us be happy if all the others are sad?" The anthropologist was dumbfounded. For months and months, he had been studying the tribe, yet it was only now that he really understood the true essence of Ubuntu. One last thought. Superhighways near densely populated cities often have what are labeled an HOV lane. It stands for High Occupancy Vehicle Lane. You can only drive in it if there's more than one person in the vehicle. I think our scriptures today are making it perfectly clear to us that the road to heaven is an HOV lane. You can't take that road to heaven alone. You have to bring someone along with you. After all, as the little girl said, how can one of us be happy if all the others are sad?